Merry Christmas. It's Worshipful Brother Michael Arce with a Christmas special episode just for you. A few weeks ago, I was asked by Maynard Edwards, the host of the Tyler's Place podcast, the official podcast of the Scottish Rite Southern Masonic Jurisdiction, if I would join the cast of The Christmas Carol. And I was like, yes, of course, let's do this. And it was truly an honor to lend my voice and join other fellow Masonic podcasters who all provided their talents for this performance. The episode is here. I hope you enjoy it, commercial free. And from all of us here at the Craftsman Online podcast, we say Merry Christmas to you and have a joyous New Year.
To begin with, Marley was dead. Make no mistake about that, he was as dead as a doornail. In fact, it was 7 years ago this very night, December 24th, Christmas Eve. Jacob Marley was an ornery old cuss in life, and when he died, no one really seemed to care. The only person who might have cared was his partner in the counting house business, old Ebenezer Scrooge. But if Marley was bad, Scrooge was worse. Scrooge was the meanest, tight-fisted old miser anyone ever knew. Never a smile or a kind word for anyone. Now, if you look down the street there, you'll see Scrooge and Marley's counting house for you youngins. A counting house is a place where people help keep track of other people's money. Even though Scrooge and Marley were very good at what they did, their counting house was a ramshackle building because neither Scrooge nor Marley wanted to spend money to keep up the place. And even after 7 years dead, Marley's name is still on the door because Scrooge was too cheap to have Marley's name taken off the door. Look there in the window. You see that man all wrapped in blankets? He's got 2 winter hats on his head and holes in his gloves. You see there? That's Scrooge's clerk, Bob Cratchit. Bob is a lovely fellow, got a nice wife, 2 little boys at home, and I'll tell you, I don't know how they get by on the little that Scrooge pays him. Uh-oh. Looks like Bob's tossing more coal on the fire. I bet old Scrooge won't like that.
Bob Cratchit?
Yep. There he is.
Yes, Mr. Scrooge.
Did I hear more coal into that stove?
Mr. Scrooge, it's just that it's so cold in the front room and my fingers they're so stiff. I'm having trouble holding my pencil to work out the ledgers.
So, you pick my pocket 1 coal at a time, eh?
Yes, I mean, no, Mr. Scrooge. I mean...
And tomorrow you'll rob me again, wanting to take the whole day off for Christmas and still expecting a day's wages, I imagine.
Well, it's only once a year, Mr. Scrooge, and it is such a wonderful thing to spend the day with family and...
Humbug! Christmas is just an excuse to pick a man's pocket every 25th of December, since the fools in London have deemed all the banks will be closed. You may as well stay home.
Oh, thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Scrooge.
But I will expect you in an hour early the next 2 weeks to make up for it.
Yes, sir.
Fetch the door, Cratchit.
Merry Christmas, Uncle Scrooge. Merry Christmas, Bob Cratchit.
And a Merry Christmas to you, Mr. Fred.
Hello, nephew. As you might expect, we are quite busy. What can I do for you?
Well, I was happening by and I saw your door. It was looking so dreary. And I brought you a wreath for some Christmas cheer.
No, thank you, nephew.
Oh, come now, Uncle Scrooge. I can just hang this wreath on the door, brighten up the street a bit, and tomorrow you will come to my home for a lovely Christmas dinner. Lily will be so glad to have you, and she's a wonderful cook.
Lily? You mean that undowried girl you married? Her father hasn't more than 2 brown cents to rub together. I will never understand why you...
I would rather live in the woods with love than live in a mansion without.
You're well on your way then, aren't you?
My home may not be as fancy as yours, but it's cozy enough for us. and we always have room at our table for you. Won't you join us?
Nephew, for as long as I can remember, you've come in here each and every blasted year with your Merry Christmas, and every year I've told you no. Why must we go through this annual exercise in futility?
What will you do, sit in that big, old, dark house and sip cold beef broth by yourself?
Perhaps I will.
That's no way to keep Christmas, Uncle Scrooge.
Bah! Humbug! You keep Christmas your way, and I'll keep it in mine. Now, if you will let us get back to work...
You can't humbug Christmas, Uncle Scrooge.
Humbug. And good day to you, nephew.
Very well then, if you change your mind, supper is at 6. Here, Bob, you take the wreath home and have a little extra cheer from Lily and me. And say Merry Christmas to your Emily and the family for us, especially that Tiny Tim.
Oh, thank you, sir. It will look so lovely over our hearth, and Tiny Tim will be so glad you asked of him.
Cratchit, get back to work.
Yes, sir, Mr. Scrooge. Right away, sir.
Oh, good heavens, Uncle Scrooge.
Didn't I tell you Scrooge was bad? Kind of makes you wonder what happened to a fella to make him so dang mean, doesn't it? Well, that evening, the minute the clock struck 6, Bob Cratchit closed up the office and was gone in a flash. Ebenezer Scrooge started his walk home in the dark, all alone on Christmas Eve.
Blast! Why are you ringing that infernal bell?
Merry Christmas Eve, sir. We are collecting for the poor, that they might have a more decent holiday. Can we put you down for a contribution?
Have the prisons all closed?
The prisons, sir?
Yes, the prisons. Or the workhouses. Have they suddenly been shuttered?
No, sir. I think the prisons and workhouses are both still open, but
Then there are plenty of resources for the poor, rather than to accost me on the streets.
Well, sir, it is Christmas after all, and most people...
Humbug!
I take it back. I said Scrooge was mean, but mean doesn't really cover it. Now, it was a cold night, the kind of cold that gets in your bones. A blanket of fresh snow covered the ground, and there was just a little sliver of bright silver moon in the sky, and just that little bit of light painted long shadows all over the ground. You know, the kind of night where your eyes can play tricks on you. In fact, when Scrooge went up the long walkway to that big, dark, empty house of his, he could have sworn the door knocker looked just like old Jacob Marley's face hanging on the door.
What the devil?
But no, that couldn't have been, could it? Scrooge kept the house as dark as he could because darkness was cheap. He went to his kitchen and took a bowl of cold stew from the icebox, then went to his bedroom. He got himself situated for bed in his pajamas and nightcap. While he sipped his cold, lonely dinner, Scrooge did afford himself the luxury of a single candle to read the newspaper by, and one pitiful log in the fireplace to keep warm. He ate his dinner and read his paper, and by, the old man drifted off to sleep.
Ebenezer Scrooge!
Who are you? What do you want with me?
Ask me who I was.
Who were you?
In life, I was your partner, Jacob Marley.
Jacob! But you're dead. You died 7 years ago.
7 years this very night.
Humbug!
You doubt your senses, Ebenezer?
I do indeed. Every little thing affects them. You can't be a ghost. You could be a disorder of the stomach playing tricks on my mind. Maybe an undigested bit of beef, or an underdone potato. There may be more gravy than grave about you, whatever.
You will believe!
I believe you! I believe you are Jacob Marley. What do you want of me? Why does your ghost walk the earth? Why are all those chains wound around you?
This is the chain I forged in life, link by link and yard by yard. I must walk the earth and carry this heavy chain with me. Look closely, Ebenezer.
Keys and padlocks? Ledgers and purses? Cash boxes?
Yes. And you too are forging a chain. Yours was as heavy and as long as this 7 years ago. But you have labored on, and your chain is now much longer than mine. For 7 years, I have not rested.
But you were always a good man of business, Jacob.
Business, faith, hope, charity, mercy, benevolence. They were my business, and I neglected them. And each and every chance to help my fellow man and add another link to this burdensome chain.
Have you come to take me then? To carry me to the grave and burden me with my own chain?
No, Ebenezer, I'm here to warn you. There is hope for you.
Tell me, Jacob, what can I do to avoid this terror?
Tonight, you will be haunted by 3 spirits.
What will these spirits do with me?
Watch carefully what they show you. Heed their words wisely, and perhaps you can remove the links from your own chain before it's too late. The first spirit will visit when the bell tolls 1.
Jacob? Jacob!
Ebenezer Scrooge woke up in his chair just the same way he'd fallen asleep. He looked around the room, and it was just as it had been, but he was still trembling with fright.
Jacob? Are you there?
Scrooge settled back into his chair and tried to get himself back to sleep, but then... The moment the clock struck 1, Scrooge's bedroom window flew open with a mighty gust of wind, and through the window came an incredible sight.
Ebenezer! Oh no! It wasn't a dream! Marley has cursed me!
Scrooge could not believe his eyes. Before him was an old man with a long white beard, though the ghost appeared to be older than time itself. His face didn't have even a single wrinkle or blemish anywhere on it.
Come with me, Ebenezer. Don't be afraid. I have much to show you.
Who are you?
I am the ghost of Christmas past. Step to the window with me.
The window? Don't be mad. I am flesh and bone. I am not a spirit.
When you take my hand, you'll be as safe as can be.
The minute Scrooge took the ghost by the hand, they both zipped out the window in a flash. They were high in the air, and Scrooge looked around in astonishment.
Spirit, what happened to the city?
These are the shadows of things that have been. You recognize this countryside?
Oh, I know every inch of it. Every rock, every tree.
And that bleak building over there.
My old schoolhouse. What a horrible old place.
Let's look inside. What do you see, Ebenezer Scrooge?
I see a boy. A lonely boy. Neglected by his family. It's me, Spirit. as a young boy.
Yes, you as a boy, alone, forgotten. Your lips seem to be trembling, Ebenezer.
It's nothing. Just a few days ago, some children came to my door singing Christmas carols, and there was a boy like that among them. A poor, pale, thin little boy in a ragged coat. Reminded me of myself at that age. I should have given him something.
Come, Ebenezer, let us see another Christmas. Do you know this place, Ebenezer Scrooge?
It's time for a dance, don't you think? We can't have a proper Christmas party without a dance.
Know it? This is the counting house where I apprenticed.
That's it, boys. Light on your feet and don't let the ladies leave.
My word, bless his heart. It's old Fezziwig, alive again, and hosting one of his Christmas parties.
Who else do you see, Ebenezer?
There's Dick Wilkins. Dear, and look, there's Mrs. Fezziwig herself. A fine, fine woman. Look at the tables, all loaded with roasts and cider, mince pie and beer. Such a wonderful time.
What about that handsome young man over there with the broad smile? Do you recognize him?
Yes. Merciful heaven. I was so happy back then.
You were very fond of Mr. Fezziwig, weren't you?
Indeed I was. I loved that old man. He took such good care of us all. I'm certain my clerk, Bob Cratchit, has no love for me. But I suppose old Fezziwig gave us many reasons to love him, and I've not done the same for Bob. Spirit, I can bear no more. Leave me, haunt me no more. Take me back.
In a flash of light and a gust of wind, Scrooge found himself sitting bolt upright in his own bed. For a moment, he thought it might have been another dream, but then he saw the curtains rustle ever so slightly, and he realized the window was still open. He crept from his bed and slid the window shut, just as... At the sound of the clock, Scrooge nearly jumped out of his skin. He spun around, looking wildly about the room, ready for anyone or anything to appear before him. But there was no one, nothing. All was dark and quiet. Scrooge waited. First 5 minutes, then 10. At 2:15, Scrooge noticed a strange but pleasant smell filling his room.
Is that roast beef? Or perhaps turkey?
The delicious smell, stronger and stronger, until Scrooge could take no more. He opened the door to his room and bounded down the stairs to an amazing sight.
Good heavens!
There in Scrooge's very own sitting room was an enormous table, and spread out on it was a feast the likes of which Ebenezer Scrooge had never seen. Roast beef, a whole turkey, a suckling pig, and so much more, surrounded by potatoes, and pies, and berries, and every kind of stuffing and sausage you could imagine. There were great green and red ornaments hung all over the room, and the fireplace was roaring and crackling with a bright, warm blaze, giving the room the most magnificent glow. And at the far end of the table sat a big, jolly-looking, bearded man. He was dressed in very fine gold, red, and green robes, and he was tasting each and every dish with glee.
Ah, there you are, Scrooge. Come in, and enjoy this feast.
Who are you? You don't look like the other spirit who came to see me.
Of course not. I'm the ghost of Christmas present. You've never seen the likes of me before. Come in now. Our time is short. Eat.
I don't think I can eat now, spirit. I've just seen things of my past and...
Oh, yes, I know. And I'm here to show you the present. Will you come with me?
Yes, spirit. Show me what you will.
Touch my robe and we'll be off.
Where have you brought me, spirit?
A humble dwelling, on a humble street.
Yes, I see that.
Yet there is much happiness there.
Who are these people? Who's that woman?
These are the family of your clerk, Bob Cratchit. That's his wife, dressed in her worn-out gown. She's setting the table for Christmas dinner, and there, helping is her daughter, Belinda. And the young man with the fork and the stuffing, that's Master Peter Cratchit. And then there's 2 little Cratchits. Look, Scrooge, more of the family has arrived.
Why, bless your heart alive, Martha, my dear. Merry Christmas to you.
Merry Christmas, Mother. Where's Father?
He's been to church with Tiny Tim. They'll be along directly.
How is Tiny Tim? Is he any better at all?
It's tough to say, I'm afraid. He has good days, then not so good days. Oh, look! Here comes your father with Tiny Tim now.
Merry Christmas, everyone. Martha, my, we have missed you so.
Merry Christmas, Father and Tim.
Merry Christmas, Martha.
And how did Tim behave in church, Bob?
As good as gold, of course.
I like church, Mother. They sang the nicest songs.
Well, I hope you both worked up an appetite. Dinner is ready. Come take your places now. There's plenty. Stuffing and dressing and plum pudding for all of you. Martha, you take care of Tiny Tim.
Of course, Mother, and I will make sure he eats plenty.
Shall we say grace? Our Father in heaven, we humbly ask for your blessing and
Spirit,
for your care and protection.
What is wrong with Tiny Tim?
Bob has been your clerk for several years. I'm surprised you don't know.
Please, just tell me now.
The boy is sickly. Has been since birth. He is lame and often has breathing troubles. His health is a constant worry for Bob and his wife.
Tell me, Spirit, will Tiny Tim live?
I see a vacant seat at the table and a little crutch without an owner, carefully preserved.
Oh, no, kind Spirit. Say he'll be spared. Say he'll live.
If these shadows remain unaltered by the future, Ebenezer, this will be his last Christmas. Unless something changes, the child will die.
No! The power and the glory forever. Amen.
Amen.
And a Merry Christmas to us all, and God bless us.
God bless us, everyone.
Scrooge felt his throat tighten and could feel tears welling in his eyes. Here was a family whose clothes were worn, and their home was little more than a cracker box. Scrooge knew too well what little he paid Bob Cratchit, and knew this family barely had 2 spare cents to rub together. Yet here they were, happy and celebrating the joys of Christmas. Scrooge felt an enormous hand on his shoulder.
Come, Scrooge. There is more to see. We must go quickly.
When Scrooge looked at the ghost of Christmas present, he noticed the big man seemed to have aged many years in the matter of a few minutes' time.
Spirit, what's happened to you? You look much older now than you did before.
Indeed, my time is very short. I am a ghost of the present. The present is a fleeting moment that comes and goes quickly, which is why we must hurry to show you all I can.
As Scrooge gripped the spirit's robe, he was again whisked away, and in the matter of only a few moments, they visited the orphanage, the hospital, the almshouse, and even visited the sailors at the docks who were so far away from their homes. Many people who had little in the way of money or creature comforts, but all still celebrating the warmth and joy of the holiday. With each place they visited, Scrooge's heart felt more and more heavy, and he was ashamed. At last, Scrooge and the ghost arrived back in Scrooge's bedroom.
What now, Spirit? Is there more to see?
I must leave you now, Scrooge, for the present is now past. Take heed what I have shown you, and be warned of the next spirit who will visit you.
As the clock was striking 3, right before Scrooge's very eyes, the ghost of Christmas present faded away into nothingness. Scrooge ran from his room and down to his sitting room. The feast, the fire, the decorations had all vanished, as if they'd never been. No sooner had the clock chimes finished ringing out than Ebenezer Scrooge felt an icy chill overtake the room. He was shivering and could see his own breath making clouds of steam in the cold air as he crept back up the stairs from his sitting room to his bedroom. As Scrooge crossed the threshold of his room, before him was as frightful a sight as he'd ever seen. It was a hooded figure, dressed in a black cloak, and in one bony white hand, the figure held a well-worn handle of a long, mean-looking scythe. Even though it was pitch black in the room, the blade of that scythe was so sharp, it was somehow gleaming in the very darkness.
What spirit are you?
The spirit did not make a sound, but approached Scrooge in silence. The dark figure moved along the ground on a cloud of mist, as if it were floating.
Pray you speak. I've been shown the past and the present by you, spirits. Are you sent to show me what is yet to come?
The spirit said not a word, but extended the ominous-looking scythe and motioned for Scrooge to take hold.
Show me what you will.
Scrooge reached for the scythe, and just as before, the moment his hand touched the spit, he was whisked away in an instant. The next thing he knew, he was standing on a familiar street, looking at a very familiar little cracker-box house.
Spirit, why have you brought me back to Bob Cratchit's house? Why does the home seem so dark, so quiet?
The ghost of Christmas yet to be extended a bony hand and pointed to the window. Scrooge carefully peered inside and felt his heart sink at what he beheld. A tiny crutch propped gently against the fireplace, its owner nowhere to be seen.
Oh no. No, no.
I know, dear, I know. It's such a lovely little spot for him under the tree there in the churchyard. And I told him you'll be there to see him soon. His little grave is so green and it's so lovely already. I know it will bring you peace when you can bring yourself to go and see it.
I don't know if I ever can.
Oh, I know, dear. I miss Tiny Tim with all my heart. But he would not want us to weep like this. He wouldn't want us to mourn for him this way.
The ghost held the scythe out for Scrooge to take, but Scrooge refused.
No, I am done seeing these shadows. Take me home and wake me from this nightmare.
The ghost banged the handle of the scythe angrily on the ground and demanded that Scrooge take hold, and out of sheer fright, Scrooge obeyed. Scrooge found himself on a common street, but it did not seem at all familiar. There were strangers walking slowly by, but they did not see Ebenezer or the spirit standing there.
I don't know much about it. Either way, I only know he's dead.
When did he die?
Last night, I believe, and good riddance.
Yeah, it'll be the cheapest funeral ever. I don't even think the minister's gonna go.
I don't mind going if there'll be food afterwards.
Spirit? Who are they talking about? Surely it can't be Tiny Tim. What poor man are they laughing at in death?
The ghost of Christmas yet to be pointed to a small fenced area just a few yards away. Scrooge walked towards the gate.
A graveyard? It's so overrun by grass and weeds, and these lonely, crumbling gravestones. Has no one tended to them?
Scrooge felt an icy hand grip his shoulder and guide him to the far corner of the dilapidated old graveyard. There was a stone that was
grave.
newer than the
My
rest.
God in heaven.
and before it was a gaping dark hole in the ground.
Whose open grave is this? Is there writing on that stone?
Scrooge peered at the stone and squinted. As he did, he clutched his chest and stumbled backward in terror as he read 2 words: Ebenezer Scrooge.
Ebenezer Scrooge. Ebenezer Scrooge. Oh, no, Spirit. No, hear me. I'm not the man I was. Tell me that I can change these dreadful shadows you've shown me. I will keep Christmas in my heart all year. I will take the lessons you've taught me this night. Tell me I can save myself and Tiny Tim too. Please.
With a single mighty shove, the ghost of Christmas yet to be pushed Ebenezer Scrooge backward into his own grave. Scrooge was falling, and then... Scrooge sat up and found himself in his own bed. The sun was shining brightly through the open window.
What day is it? What day?
Scrooge rushed to the window and looked out. There were people in the streets carrying packages and rushing about.
You there, young man!
Me?
Yes, you. What day is it?
Day, sir?
Yes, what day is it?
It's Christmas Day, of course, sir.
Christmas? Oh, thank God I haven't missed it. Merry Christmas, young man. Merry Christmas.
And to you as well, sir.
Young man, would you like to earn some Christmas money? I will pay you well if you go down to the poulterer and fetch him. Tell him I want the biggest, fattest goose he has, and I will pay double the asking. I will pay you that much for making the trip.
Yes, sir, right away, and Merry Christmas.
Yes, it is. It is a Merry Christmas.
With the vigor of a man half his age, Scrooge got dressed in his finest clothes. He filled his pockets with every penny he could carry and rushed out the door.
You there? Are you still collecting for the poor?
Yes, sir, and the prisons are still open.
Ha! Never mind that. Here, this should help.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
If you come by my office tomorrow, there will be even more. No business today, though. It's Christmas after all.
Merry Christmas, sir.
Merry Christmas. Yes, it is a Merry Christmas.
Scrooge was practically skipping down the street, reveling in all the sights and sounds of Christmas. He met the poulterer and had the young man deliver the fattest goose in town to a very specific address. Then Scrooge hurried to a small house not too far from his own.
Uncle Scrooge?
Fred, is the invitation to Christmas with you and your beautiful brides still open?
Yes, of course it is.
You've been right all along, dear nephew. I have not kept Christmas in my heart, but I have been shown things that have made me realize, well, I will be keeping a Merry Christmas every day.
Uncle Scrooge, come in and join us by the fire. This will be the merriest Christmas of them all.
Scrooge spent the day with his nephew and wife enjoying fine home-cooked meals, hot meals. They went to church, and Scrooge gave every child silver coins. Then he emptied his pockets into the collection plate. No one had ever seen anything like it, least of all from Ebenezer Scrooge. The next day, Scrooge was in his office at the counting house extra early, waiting for Bob Cratchit to arrive.
Cratchit! What do you mean by coming in at this time of day?
I am so sorry to be late, Mr. Scrooge. It was just such a lovely, merry day yesterday that we celebrated into the night. I promise it won't happen again.
There must be repercussions for a thing like this, Cratchit. Repercussions concerning your salary.
Of course, sir.
Your salary will double from now on.
I beg your pardon, sir?
Not good enough for you? Fine, tripled. And we will set you on the path to be my partner in the coming year.
Mr. Scrooge, are you feeling all right?
Better than I have in years. Tell me, did you enjoy the goose I sent?
That was you? Why, yes, it was a feast. We ate until we couldn't eat anymore. There's still half a goose left. Even Tiny Tim had seconds and thirds.
Excellent! And speaking of your Tiny Tim, I want you to take him to the best doctor in town and have the bill sent to me. We will see he gets well.
I don't know what to say, Mr. Scrooge.
Isn't it cold in here, Bob? Stoke up that fire. Heat it till the chimney glows before you do a single bit of work.
Ebenezer Scrooge was better than his word. He became a man possessed with the spirit of Christmas. He became the most generous man in town and spent more time not only with his nephew, but he became like a favorite uncle to the Cratchit family. To Tiny Tim, who did not die, Scrooge was like a second father, and with Scrooge seeing to his doctor bills, Tim grew into a strong and kind-hearted young man. Scrooge never again saw any spirits, not even his partner Jacob Marley. But in town, even to this day, it is said that no man could keep the spirit of Christmas as well as Ebenezer Scrooge. Thank you for listening. I hope you and your family have a Merry Christmas. And in the words of Tiny Tim,
God bless us, everyone.
Amen, amen. So mote it be.
This is Maynard Edwards, 33rd Degree, producer of the Tyler's Place podcast and producer of this special holiday presentation, which we really hope you have enjoyed. This has been a first-of-its-kind collaboration between some of your favorite Masonic content creators, each taking a part in telling this classic story. Our narrator, Worshipful Brother Hank Griffin, host of the You've Been Hanked podcast. The voice of the Scottish Rite Journal podcast, and also a host of the Tyler's Place podcast, as the voice of Ebenezer Scrooge, Brother Matt Bowers, 32nd Degree. As the voice of Jacob Marley, Worshipful Brother Michael Arce, host of the Craftsman Online podcast. One of the knights from the Masonic Roundtable podcast, Brother John Ruark, as the voice of the Ghost of Christmas Past. Another knight of the Masonic Roundtable and the host of the Whence Came You podcast, the one and only Robert Johnson as the voice of Christmas Present. As the voice of Scrooge's nephew Fred, Brother Lee Justo from the YouTube channel The Secret Life of Huguenot Lodge number 46. Yours truly in the role of Bob Cratchit, and stealing the show as Tiny Tim, Young Master Woodrow Griffin. We also heard the voices of Brother Sennett Foudy, Brother Chris Ruley, Brother Roger Outen, Brother Griffin Thurfield, and Nicole Bowers. Special thanks to our Sovereign Grand Commander, Brother Jim Cole, Scottish Rite Director of Membership Services, Brother Dean Alban, and of course, thanks to each and every one of you for listening and for making this possible. I hope you have a Merry Christmas and all the best in 2024.